So the last thing we got to do is implement this onCollision onDelta in the player class, and then we'll finally have our MapCollidable object. So our onCollision is going to require a side type, which is what I'm going to put in our MapCollidable object. So I'm going to go ahead and create that MapCollidable object, but not put anything implementation in it. Just so I can create that enum in the right area. So let's do MapCollidable. So we'll create an enum side type, and it's either going to be top side, bottom side, left side, or right side. And then this is delta direction and is going to be a bool. So let's implement those inside of player.h, or let's declare them inside of player.h. Let's make them protected so that we can inherit them, but so that they aren't public. So this is going to be onCollision void onCollision, taking in a MapCollidable side type, which means we need to include MapCollidable, which we'll need to do later anyway. So this is the side that the collision occurs on, and then bool is delta direction. So this is true if it's in the direction of delta. And then we'll also need onDelta, which is of course in the direction of delta, so we don't need that bool anymore. So let's implement these inside of player.cc and then use them. Down here below update x and update y. Okay, so we'll just do a switch statement inside of onCollision. We'll start with onCollision, that's easier. Switch on the side type. So case top side MapCollidable top side break top bottom left and right. Okay, so now let's make sure that we call it. So we'll start with update x. So when we actually collide in the direction of delta, we'll set velocity x to be 0. But let's make sure we call this. So collide onCollision. And we are colliding in the right direction, so MapCollidable right side, and it is yes in the direction of delta. Then we want to do onDelta for the right side. Okay, now this is the left side and it is false. This is the left side and it is true. Again, we'll just set our velocity to be 0, so let's get rid of these velocity setting. This down here is right side and it's false, because it's not in the direction of delta. And then this is onDelta right here inside of the else statement with the left side. So let's go implement these velocity x. So if is delta direction, we'll set kinematics x dot velocity to be 0. And same thing for the right side. So now let's do update y, which is going to be a little more interesting because it's got the on ground with it. But so this will be onCollision MapCollidable. We're going down, so it's the bottom slide, and it's true because it's the delta direction. And then here is onDelta for the bottom side. And here is onCollision, false. And top side. Top side true. onDelta top side. onCollision bottom side false. Okay, so now let's set our on grounds. If we ever collide with the bottom side, then we set on ground to be true. If it's the delta direction, then we set velocity to be 0. Kinematics y dot velocity is equal to 0.0f. Same for if we are going top side. And then on delta, if it's in the y direction, so if side is equal to map, I guess I'll do switch statement. So switch side. Okay, so if it's the top side, then we want to set on ground to be true. If it's the bottom side, we also want to set on ground to be true. Now there's one more thing, and that is the particles, but I'm going to test because this should still be working. But it's this head bump particle gets created inside of our update method because update gets passed in a particle tools. So I think we're going to need to pass in particle tools to our player constructor and just hold a reference to it throughout the lifetime of the player so it can create it at any time. So let's do that. Go to player.h. Down here in, I guess above everything is fine. We won't spell it incorrectly, so we won't take it into our methods anymore. Which means we'll need to make a change to our game class, and also we will take it into our player. So let's go into game class and fix those now. And also player CC, let's see. Particle tools should now be underscored. And just getting rid of that particle tools, that's all. Let's go into game and make the correct calls. So passing in particle tools, let's find it and copy it. And pass it. Okay, I think that's all we need to do there. So now let's move our head bump particle effect into the right place. So head bump. So whenever it collides with the top side, we'll just create a particle. Let's build and see if this works. Oops, I gotta fix the constructor. So it takes in a particle tools now too. That's one more thing. Update y, function does not take 3 arguments, which is great for me. Okay, should work this time. And I think that's the end of step 5. Satisfied. It's creating way too many particles, so we'll need to work on that. I think I left the call into head bump particle, yeah. Let's just go in and make sure I got rid of all the extra info. On ground, don't need those anymore. Okay, now let's actually test it again. Make sure on ground is still working. I forgot to take those flags out. Lots of things change when you factor like this, so you gotta check everything. This is why people like unit tests. I'm not doing it for this video series, but unit tests are often a pretty good idea if you know what you're building, because they help when you are refactoring a lot. Whew. Okay,